Hello everyone, so this is the week 1 lab walkthrough for the Scientific Method Lab Manual. You're going to have to click on this to download the assistant. That's actually the lab report you'll be submitting. It's basically a really long worksheet. And then if you go down to the rubric and free post, you'll see you can post your observation tables under here as a reply in the reply window. So in here where everybody can see it, not as an attachment, and that will give you an additional free S for the week. So it's just a way of helping everybody share and relate. What you care about is there's a video list, which you're listening to one of them, hopefully now. I mean, not sure how you're seeing this otherwise. And we're going to click on the lab rubric and pull it up. So I'm just going to switch over to that window. Give me a second. Okay, so here's what you're going to see when you do the lab rubric. You know, let me pause and expand the window. That looks a lot better. Alright, so it's going to go through and tell you exactly how much each step of the table, each question, every single thing is worth on the lab, including grammar, APA. You need to have at least one full reference, and I'm going to start wanting to have title pages on the lab. So start the really, add that title page to this lab just so that you can start practice and I can help you better, because you want to get that under control. That's going to be worth a lot of points later, but you got to have at least one reference. Alright, so here's the lab. I just copy and paste it underneath the rubric, so worst case scenario have this one. I still recommend that you download it from the website. It's a little just easier that way. To add a title page, you just go here. I would say click on insert if my computer decides to work, and then over here add a page break. That will give you an empty page. On that page you can add whatever you want. Okay, so let's scroll down. So exercise 1, make sure you've read the whole lab manual. It's really going to walk you through it. Talk about what you're seeing. If you're smelling anything, don't purposely smell it, but some of these will have an odor. What's going on? A question that applies to the stuff, notes that applies to the stuff. A hypothesis. You want to have a statement that's like an if-then. Make sure your if is what you're going to be looking for. So you wouldn't say if something's heavier that you already know. You would say if this thing happens, then it means this thing, or it verifies this thing I already know. Okay, so your if part needs to be what your test is going to do, and then your then thing is what you're hoping the answer is, like the evidence. I hope that makes sense. I think the lab manual reverses this, so make sure you're doing it my way. Experimental observations will be what you saw in detail, probably be about a paragraph. And then conclusions and why. Make sure you get the why and that it was. So is your hypothesis supported or not? And why? So what did you see again that shows this? Let's go through the questions. Why was the hypothesis supported or rejected rather being proven true or false? So don't tell me about your hypothesis. This is in general. Why do you say supported or rejected rather than true or false? The experiment is considered a failure, or is it a failure if the hypothesis is not supported? So do you have to have positive hypotheses? Of course, in statistics, we on purpose pick the opposite. So we'll see what you do with that, right? What gas did you find to be mixing in the glass after you mix the stuff? Explain how you know this. This might be something that is told to you in the lab manual. Quantitative versus qualitative. What were you doing? I wouldn't just say one or the other, because say you're wrong if you give me information about like, I think it is quantitative because whatever, or I think it is qualitative because whatever. Maybe you'll get some partial credit. It could be both. It's really more of one in this situation. Describe your conclusions, including the observations that led to your conclusion. So talk about kind of that last paragraph, which he said again. Then you're going to have sort of the global warming model. The first one is, it walks it through in the lab manual, right? You're going to talk about here, so this is going to be about a paragraph on what the heck global warming is, and your sources, have them in APA. I would really like to see a full reference section at the bottom of the page with in-text citations in here, but in this one I understand if you put them under the questions, I'll just complain about it. Independent, dependent, control, hypothesis. So independent, what's not changing? Usually like what you're testing. Dependent, what did you do to change it? Did I have that right? No, dependent's what you're testing. Independent's what you're not testing. So independent should be what you change. Dependent's what you're testing. I could look at the answer sheet to cheat, but whatever. And then control is what you changing, right? And hypothesis is your hypothesis. So independent might be like time. Dependent, whatever you're testing. Control, like what did you change? You know, did you add something? Which one did you not change? That's what really matters. Which one did you not change? Okay. And then I'm trying to remember, this is the one where you add the plastic, right? So that will tell you which one that has to go into. You'll talk about that stuff. Okay, so you do blah, blah, blah. Check everything, have a lot of answers. You can post this for your free ass. Okay, then you're going to tell me what the change in the temperature in Model 1 was. And in Model 2, you're going to do a graph. You can graph this on hand and then take a picture of it, put it in, or do it through Excel. Conclusions, if and why the hypothesis was supported or rejected. So like the last one, was it supported or rejected? Why do you think that? Make sure your hypothesis is testable. So if something happens, then it means this, that kind of thing. Compare the temperature measurements between the two models. Which model shows the greatest temperature change? Make sure you talk about that. Which one showed the least? You know, give me a short paragraph. So that means at least 3 sentences. At least 3. Describe the role of the plastic wrap and the similarities and dissimilarities between greenhouse gases. I think this is a lot in the manual, but many people also use an outside resource. The manual is a fine resource to cite to. And you just want to make sure you talk about the similarity and the differences. Do both. And what it does, right, generally. But that will kind of be covered. The third, okay, so then you're saying, what if you had a third model of adding greenhouse gases, but now, so you're adding in this vapor or stuff. What do you think would happen? So it would have a higher temperature, a lower temperature, something in the middle, and why? Relate your findings of the experiment to global warming. Include the benefits. Make sure you talk about the benefits of greenhouse gases. And the impact, so why the negative, and still relate what you found to this. So it's kind of a 3-part question. So you want to talk about your experiment, how it relates, the benefits, and the excessive. So I might kind of put it together. So like the benefits are greenhouse gases. You can see this in our experiment by whatever. The impact is whatever, and our experiment shows this by whatever. And then list each step of the scientific method. So and once again, I'm pretty sure it's in the manual, otherwise it's in the text, but you want to list them all. Rather, say blah, blah, blah. Describe. Okay, you can say non-applicable for different steps. You are kind of doing peer review if you post your observation table, so that is there a little bit. Just, you know, talk about what you did. And don't skip steps. So if you don't use a step, you don't think you did, still say non-applicable, and don't just leave it off because I'm looking for a certain number of steps. And then you get to do your own. It kind of leads you down the path. Do it still on the climate change or global warming. So I still kind of want something in that line. A lot of people do the ice a little bit more. Background research. So you give me a little paragraph on like what's going on that you learned, what the sources you used are. You can put the full references here, or put the full references here and text citations in the research. I would still love a reference section at the end of the paper. Understand if you don't do that. The question that you're asking and the experiment design in general, a little photo of what you did. So this is a nice free however many points it's worth. I'm not opening my rubric. That probably would have helped. Again, what's the independent, the dependent, and the control? So the control is the most like unchanged, right? And then we talk independent thing you're not changing, dependent, you're like the thing you're looking at. And then hypothesis, for some reason it puts these together. Do give me a hypothesis and then give me a results and observations. I didn't change it in here because it's not changed in what you download. And then your conclusions or whatever. Your question, so your conclusions, you would say if your hypothesis was accepted or rejected, and then why. Nice when my phone goes off. Maybe I should put it in silent. Where's the fun? So what are your possible flaws? You do want to have some listed because everybody can make, you're not in a sterile environment. We're all going to potentially mess up somehow? How could you correct them? Use the findings from your research to develop a new question that can be conducted. So you want to say, like, I saw this, so a future question in line with that might be this, or this was not covered because of whatever. Relate your findings, or the findings of your experiment, to the impact of rising ocean temperatures on global climate change. That's why you want to make sure your experiment does have something to do with those two topics, or this question is like, I don't know. So do kind of on that, and then talk about what happened. You would add, you could either enter, or I would just insert a page break here. Love to see a reference section at the bottom with a full reference. Make sure you also have in-text citations then in your paper. Either way, I want to see those in-text citations, right? Hopefully this helps. I'm just scrolling up. You can be like, Heather, why don't you remember exactly what this independent variables are in this experiment? Because I have the answer key and I don't feel like opening it right now. I'm trying to remember everything. And always remember, for things like this where I'm still being a little vague because I haven't exactly decided on where I want to be really specific, you can submit drafts of your labs for me to review. They would be due Monday, so by noon PST, Pacific Standard Time, of the due day. So, well, Monday is the due day. So by noon, okay? And I hope this helps you walk through and make sense of this stuff. Really read the lab manual, reread the lab manual, then do your lab while you walk through, and give yourself a lot of extra time, because labs, you know, they want you to rip your hair out and torture you. Also remember, you can use the internet for online outside resources, but make sure they are credible. So no Wikipedia, no Course Hero. You're not quoting them without including quotations in your lab. I don't really want to see quotations. I want to see paraphrasing with in-text citations. I do randomly spot check everybody's lab to make sure we're not accidentally or on purpose plagiarizing, since it has been an issue in the past, increasingly so of late. So just be careful. Do your own work. Reach out to me. Do a draft. If your draft isn't totally done, like it's Monday at noon and you're not completely done with the lab, send me what you have. Like, I'll try to help you, and then I will actually open the lab key and check you against that. The earlier you send your lab, I prefer after Friday, but if you send it on Saturday or Sunday, I have a little extra time, so I will spend more time on it. The closer it is to noon, like if you send it at 11:55 on Monday, the more it's going to be a really quick review because I don't have as much time. So, like I said, hope this helps. Enjoy.